My name is Bonnie B, and you are watching The Power of Perseverance. So, speaking with the Lollies, I love, Tereza, that you're talking about how you have now come to know better, do better. You guys have now made it a family event to stay healthy, and you've now incorporated taking your kids with you on these documentary recordings. So tell me about what that's been like as you've been teaching your kids and the response. I'm curious what kind of response you get from other parents who are shocked maybe that your kids eat healthier. Tell me more about that.
Well, first, I want to mention how I've always been a competitive athlete since I was a kid. Ping pong championship and volleyball championships, swimming competitions. So when I took on this healthy eating lifestyle and then we dove into this biohacking and, anti-aging and optimization and all of this, to me now it seems like it's a competitive sport. So we treat this as such. It's like a sport. We have a lot of fun, and there's also, measurable results that you can have, NAD results and, age pacing results. And just, it's like the whole world is so open, which is why we wanted to do the documentary series to, let the world know. But just for us, finding out everything, we're like, oh my gosh, we can actually, play a game. What's your aging pace? You're aging at this point and I'm aging at this point. So let's see what we're going to better in our diet, in our living, in our lifestyles, and what supplements we're taking. And then the kids are listening to all of this because, I gave up just telling them what to do. And I actually never really did that. I always just do me, and I always explain to them why I'm doing this. And they're like, oh, well, I want to do that.
Because they
So
want to follow your examples, what it sounds like
absolutely, like you
you're
have
their
to be a role
leader.
model. You have to
Yeah.
be a role model. You can't have, postpartum belly and low energy, and then tell your kid not to want to eat French fries when you're also kind of, low energy and all that stuff. Because when I speak the truth, and I'm like, I would never touch French fries, like unless I'm making it at home. I would never touch that food or that packaged food because why would I shorten my life? So even if there's situations when they'll just be like, Mom, just one, it's a party, come on, lighten up. I'd be like, you go have it, but I'm not doing it.
You said something right there too. What's really important is there's social shaming because you're choosing to make different choices than everybody else, and it
Yes.
becomes this mindset in our society
Oh,
that
of course.
you're wanting to elevate and to become higher in your thinking and your eating, and
Yeah.
so it's like you're teaching your kids now that now they're dealing with that. So Anthony, what was your experience with that?
Just last night, Teresa, because our daughter really wants to emulate her mom in every way, right? So she admires her. So yesterday, she was trying to eat outside of the parameters of what we consider to be healthy food, and overeating on certain things. So she said, your belly's getting big.
The
And
late night
the
eating.
late
It
night
was the
eating.
late night
And
eating.
all Teresa did was lift up her shirt and say, you see this?
You see this six pack?
This is
Let me see your
and
tummy, because
so
you've been overeating and eating very late every single night since we've been kind of home. Because since November, it's been just late nights, and she's just stuffing her face at like 11 p.m. And I'm like, no, this stays in your tummy. This rots in your tummy.
there's an example, right? It's kind of like bringing home your grades, right? If you have a bunch of C's on the wall or you have a bunch of A pluses, she's saying this is how I keep myself, and I'm 36. You have no excuse at 7.
I also do dramatic acting at times. Like I'll just, stand in front of the mirror and I just look at myself with the bikini. I'll be like, I love my body. I'm so happy that I eat so healthy. Look at my skin glowing at this age. So I say these things as I know she's next to me listening. Then she comes in, she's like, what is she doing? I'm like, I just want to feel this way. Every day I wake up happy. This is happiness because I love the body I wake up in. I love that my skin was like not good after I had my kids, and I was starting to feel like, oh my gosh, I'm dull and there's wrinkles. And then once I started really biohacking, it's glowing now. I'm using peptide skincare. I'm discovering all these things, and I'm doing everything right. When to sleep, when to wake up, hydration, and like taking perfect aminos, for example, all of this, right? Not mixing fruits with foods, like all these principles that I've laid out for myself is working. So now I'm showing her that it's working, and I'm so proud of myself. And, just in the middle of something, I'll be like, oh, I love my hair. Look how shiny it is. And I just show her what it's like to love the body you live in.
It's
And
the cure confidence is
yeah,
what I'm hearing. You're showing your daughter how to love her body no matter the stage. Could you imagine if more mothers did that instead of saying, "Oh, I don't like this," or "I don't like that," and then you've got all of these little girls who grow up with self-image issues?
yeah, yeah. Yeah, and again, it just all comes from the mother, honestly. And the other day, it was funny. I was talking to this really intense lymphatic drainage person that I just discovered about, because that's a whole different program that we have, right? Turns out it is the system to take care of. And there's ways we can do it every day. We just have to move the lymph. And, she's just showing me simple exercises on how to move it. And I actually did it on my daughter. She was just constipated. Consummated. What is it? Constipated. I
Constipated.
just said consummated. I was just thinking about the massage, but
Yeah.
I did it for 15 minutes and she had to run to the bathroom. So it actually worked right in front of my eyes. And when I saw that, and then when I was talking to the lady, and I'm like, how does a child this young, let's say, get constipated or digestion issues? Like I'm feeding her so healthy. She's like, just so you know, everything is the mother's fault. Like in your womb, your kid, your firstborn especially, had absorbed all of your toxins that you've had, environmental toxins that weren't your fault, or uninformed toxins that trickled into your body that you weren't informed about. That all went to your firstborn. And then the second born, if you have them close in age, just doesn't get enough vitamins and minerals, right? So just from birth, our children are being born kind of deficient in stuff and like toxic overload and stuff like that. So it's not like the old times where we can say, you know what, they're young, they're kids, let them have fun, let them eat, pizza and junk. When they smarten up, or when they get older, they'll fix their diets, or they'll find out and they'll do the best thing. It's not like that, because they may not make it to that age in one piece. That's the danger of right now. And we see it firsthand. I mean, we see it firsthand. My daughter has friends who are older than her, and they're dealing with removing of appendix, removing of tonsils, having surgeries at like 10, 11, getting like premature periods at 8 years old. Like, we're seeing this, you know? So imagine when
Well,
menopause is
people
going to happen for these kids. If periods are coming at 8, then are we having menopause at 28 now? So it's kind of scary, it's kind of dangerous what's happening. So from the get-go, we need to be so strict. And at one point, everybody around me, like you said, how do people react? I hear all kinds of advice. Yeah, you have to have balance, like, you're gonna give your children eating disorders with I don't think so, because my kids go to restaurants and they order a salad and they say, "Hey, does the dressing have seed oils? Because I don't want that. Can I get oil and vinegar? And by the way, is your oil from Italy, or is it a bad oil that was made in China?" Like, that's power. At
that
the
is
age of
power.
7, for a kid to be eating a salad and then to be eating a
The
filet mignon,
simplified,
let's say,
the
at a
simplified
restaurant.
version of that is we equate toxic food to a cigarette. So they look at that the same they would a cigarette. They're very well aware of the implications of it, same as the implications of smoking a cigarette.
And then we also don't have bad habits, right? We don't drink alcohol. And they're very mature to see. We go to house parties, we go to Christmas parties, we go to restaurants. They see everyone almost has a glass of wine or a cocktail. And they've asked us, like, do you guys drink? We're like, we used to for fun, but right now we don't like it because it ages us. So why would we ever jeopardize us living one extra day or one extra year with you guys and your children and having fun? And we don't smoke. And if like my bad habit is drinking coffee, for example. And I've said it loudly. I'm like, I don't like that I drink coffee because when I was pregnant with you guys, when I was nursing you guys, I didn't drink coffee. And it was like that. When I found out I was pregnant, I quit. There was no ifs or buts about it, right? And I feel like every mom goes through it. But then when we're not pregnant, when we're not breastfeeding, we're like, oh, but it's so hard to quit. I get headaches. And it's all what you tell yourself. And so I also loudly say, hey, I am drinking coffee these days, but I'm going to quit. And this is how I'm going to do it. You guys want to be my police? Please be my police. So first, what I'm going to do is for the next month, I'm going to half it. So I'm going to drink half a cup of coffee. The next month, I'm only going to drink this much, a quarter cup of coffee. And the following month, I'll just do decaf. And they've been following me do that. And I'm now on decaf. And they're so proud of me. So they see that quitting bad habits may be a process. It's just your dedication and your commitment to it that's going to get you there no matter what. And what we say, we do. It's so powerful between me and Anthony, right? They hear us do Zooms and we talk like this. We say, this documentary, for example, we're producing a documentary, right? They didn't know about Biohack Yourself. We started casting in March. This is now January, not even a year. We filmed part 1, part 2, part 3, and we're finishing part 4 before the year even is over. And they hear us talk and we say, look, we're going to make this documentary. And then everything we do, we actually reiterate loudly. We're like, oh yeah, guys, so I'm just making the schedule. Look, so remember we had that Zoom? So now I'm following up with him to see if he's going to be cast. And if he's cast, I'm going to schedule him. I'm scheduling. Do you think he should be on February 9th or February 10th? What do you think? Should we put him after lunch or before lunch? And they have a little input in this like whole organization of what we're doing. We just bring them on. We talk about real estate, our real estate dealings. We're like, okay, guys, so the new ground up is finished, right? We're gonna have a final walkthrough. Are you guys excited? So what are you gonna wear on that day? What are you gonna wear on that day? So now they're invested through the bottom of their hearts. And then we're like, what kind of tenant do you want to get there? Should we start advertising now so we have more options? Or should we just leave it to the last minute? What do you think? Like we give this kind of questions, very thought provoking. They're completely a part of this family and what we're doing, in
You're
every way.
redefining what it looks like to have family connection. The generational toxic way of thinking was kids are seen, not heard, and
Oh, yeah.
how it all looked. You guys are game changers when it comes to generational changing not only the biohacking system, but you're going back to what we were taught back in the not what is the word when you're in ancient times, lymph system, all these ancient techniques. You
Sure.
basically are teaching them what their body already knows how to do and showing
Mm-hmm.
them the things to empower themselves, and then giving them the exact ways to say, hey, I'm a aware child. At 7 year old, I know what seed oils are and you're not going to fool me. And I love the part where you talked about um, toxic food being equated to a cigarette. That even makes me think twice. Like, well, I kind of want to have like a little sugar, but then I was like, well, I know what it's going to do to me. And you are teaching them to give up the quick gratifications for long-term gain. And that is the secret, I think, to life, into having not only your health, but incredible wealth.
Oh, we do many exercises where I call that the muscle of patience. So we have imagination muscle exercises where I'll put a story on YouTube or on Tony Box and they'll listen to it. And I'm like, okay, now you're going to sit there and you can close your eyes or you can leave your eyes open, but you're going to watch the story in your head. And we do this very often. It's called imagination muscle development. But then I've been implementing this with my son because he has a hard time with patience. He wants things now, now, and now. So I'm like, look, as you can see, you got upset. Why did you get so upset? And it always has to happen at least like 30 minutes or 45 minutes after, like a tantrum or an outburst of feelings, right? After they're already settled and happy, you just go back. You're like, look, an hour ago, you were so upset that you cried and, you threw a tantrum over what? Do you even remember? He's like, what was it? I'm like, exactly. Something so unimportant. But at that time, it was so important to you. And I think for you, it's patient. Like you don't have the patience. You want things right now. So let's do on purpose patience muscle development. You're gonna do this. What is it that you want to do right now? He'll say, right now I want to go rollerblade. Okay, I'm gonna take your rollerblades and I'm gonna keep it for 30 minutes. And you're gonna wait for it. You're gonna find something else to do. You're gonna replace, your needs and wants for the minute, and we're gonna put an alarm. So when the alarm rings, the time is up. So we do these things. Another thing is like the sharing. For example, we were having Legend, especially the youngest, being the youngest child at the house. He says things like, "I don't want to share. I don't like sharing." So then I'm like, okay, you don't like sharing right now. You're 5 years old. When you grow up, imagine you are like 35 or 40, you're going to get married. Yes? Yes. Are you going to share your home with your wife? Yes. Are you going to share your kids with your wife? Yes. Are you going to share your car? Like we're sharing a car. One day daddy's driving, one day I'm driving. Are you going to share your money, your stuff? Like you're going to share. You're going to learn how to share, whether you want it or not. Life is about sharing if you want to be a normal human being. So you're going to waste all these years not sharing with your sister, who's a guaranteed person in your life, which may cause some unpleasant memories, to only end up sharing with a complete stranger who you're going to meet and fall in love with and share a whole life with. Do you think this is fair or unfair? He'd be like, yeah, it's not fair, but I'm not going to share. Why? So we dig very deep, and then we're like, okay, we're going to do sharing exercises. You're going to share something that's the most dearest to your heart. And then you're going to say, I love sharing. He gives it, he's like, here, I hate sharing. And then I'm like, now we're going to say, I love sharing. And then we explain to them, right? There's fake it till you make it. And I tell them, like Jay-Z and Nicki Minaj and all these people that made it huge, they actually tell us on YouTube and all their podcasts how they used to pretend that they were famous before they made it. And it took them years. So I'm like, this sharing thing may not happen right away. You may still hate it. It may take you a year or two. But if you fake it, you'll make it. You tell your cells and your cells listen. So
These are emotional intelligence conversations you're having with your kids, and you're not dismissing how incredibly aware that they are. You might be
yes,
reframing it in another way, but just like you said, fake it till you make it is another way of saying, hey, manifest your dreams, visualize you're having it, and be like a Joe Dispenza in a way
totally.
where you're feeling, and just the same thing that you do is like, I love my body. You're feeling it. So you're living in the now while creating your future. And oh my gosh, I just get goosebumps because you guys are so powerful. If
Oh,
like
thank you.
I'm excited for people to listen to this and to create that spark of what's coming up in your documentaries. Are you able to give us a little bit of like some preview hints, or what can you share with us about what's coming up in the next
Well, what makes this documentary different than anything else is that this is going to be a resource. So what we're doing is we're introducing the world to what we curated, the top world leading experts that were not only um, there's something in the medical professional called board certified. This is peer certified. So everyone in the documentary essentially is aware that they're all in a collaboration starring in this documentary. So what we did was we went to great lengths to find someone to be a proper casting director who's a biohacking expert and connoisseur and expert super connector, and his name is Stephen Klein. And he really was a great filter because there were so many people that initially going into this project, we may have thought were ideal, that turns out they don't have a good reputation in the industry, or they don't have all of their facts and figures straight, or they may have been okay with some of the things, but maybe in business practices that wasn't really ideal and synergistic to what's happening in the industry. So we were able to avoid that. And then the second course of action that we took was actually confirming and consulting with the rest of the cast. So essentially, people were voted in into this documentary, and so that gave us a lot of comfort. And in putting a face behind the brand, putting a face and a story, right? So when people choose to do business with somebody, they want to, know about what are their intentions, what are their motives. So what we did was we got a chance to see the history, either their academic history, their personal history, or non-academic history, their business history.
Yeah.
But then also we dived into their personal life. Kids, family, what is your goal? What is your legacy? And we met a lot of people that have children working with them, a lot of people that have family, that have grown their businesses, a lot of people that turned their pain into passion. So from their own incidences, they were able to heal. A lot of people that also went down the wrong channels and got misinformation and now decided to kind of be on the forefront and the leader of their particular modality. So we literally just got the best of the best and created a symphony. And then on top of that, what's happening here is when we're interviewing these people and really introducing the audience to them, we're going to have website, podcasts. We're going to introduce people to all of their information and where to find these people. Because what I think is different with this documentary and the ones that we put together is we tell you the who, what, when, where, and why. Right? We give you the
Yeah.
tools.
The blueprint.
We just don't tell you a story, but we leave you not with just anecdotes, but we introduce you like, call this guy. This is his website. This is her podcast. This is the books they
If
have.
he's vetted or
Right.
she's vetted, they're scientists, they're MDs, they're, years and years of education and research and yeah, a lot of stories of self-curing that
Right.
went into this. And we were absolutely blown away because,
Yeah.
our casting director would cast the company, for example, and we would just, have a brief Zoom to welcome them on board and whatever and schedule. Next thing you know, we're sitting there and we're like, oh my gosh, like we didn't even know who you were
Right.
and your story. So
It's incredible. And the other thing that sets this apart is that we're not an echo chamber. So what we noticed in trying to dive into this world, that it's biohacker talking to biohacker. And you're like
Yeah.
watching a tennis match and you don't understand what the heck they're saying. I love Andrew Huberman. I love all, but if Andrew Huberman is talking to another neuroscience, it's impossible for you to grasp the information. So introducing our children allowed us to kind of simplify things, and dumb it down, or the KISS method, right? Keep it simple and stupid. And so we made it where parents want to know. Parents want to know, or former obese people want to know, or people in their 30s and 40s want to know. What
but
is the
also
average
kids
American
want to
family?
know.
Kids want to know.
Yeah.
So this is really a trifecta of opportunities, whether you're single, whether you're in your 30s, whether you're a parent, or whether it's a male or a female, because we dive into female hormones, we dive into male hormones, we dive into menopause, like
Everything.
all sorts of things that people go through in life.
And some of the experts that we're bringing to light in their own world, they have about 500,000, 3 million followers. In their own world, they're superstars. People who follow them definitely have life-changing experiences, but the mainstream population is still suffering and struggling and living in fear and autoimmune conditions. So for us, it was like hand-selected experts that are the celebrities that do change lives, to bring them also under one umbrella, in addition to those modalities
Right.
who are company owners.
And
we mix them up.
The other thing we noticed in our journey is the people that were discovering these people they were not necessarily in the right state of mind. They started looking for help after they were suffering, which not only impacted them physically, but mentally and emotionally. So they were lucky if they stumbled on somebody legit.
And how many of them didn't?
And
those stories
so
we
many
wouldn't
didn't.
know.
So this documentary is going to allow people to, prevention is cheaper than cure. Just in case, this is like a seatbelt. Just in case you ever get XYZ, or you ever come across this, or somebody, reference these documentaries, because these people that are in this documentary, they're going to be healthy a long time. Not only that, they're of the highest intelligence level, so they're going to be in business a long time, and just follow their journey. So we have people like John Asseroff, who's the star of The Secret, right? This guy's 65 years old. He has a brain app
Inner
called Inner
size
Size. But
instead of
when you
exercise.
look at
Inner
his,
size.
The Secret was around since I was very young.
2006.
So
Yeah.
the point is this guy has done nothing but gone up, 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 up. Same thing with Dave Asprey or Ben Greenfield. In our documentary, Ben Greenfield does 103 push-ups out of nowhere with our son. He challenged seven grown men, of some of them on TRT, some of them biohackers, and he basically outpushed up everybody. And one of his things that he said was, "Do you want to know who's real and who's not? Tell them to take off their shirt." And then on top of that, he did 100 push-ups. So this documentary is completely different. It has anecdotes of experiences. It really, really puts people to the test.
And what we're understanding is the only people that should not be biohacking or doing at least 3 biohacks a day every single day are the people who live in complete wilderness and they're grounding every day and drinking.
So how do you define biohack and you what you said? Biohacking is what I'm hearing is basically ways to ground yourself, bring yourself back into homeostasis, and bring things into your environment that are making you whole again. Is that what I'm hearing you
Right.
say and how
So
you're defining it?
Well, first of all, biohacking is a term that was literally adopted and coined by Dave Asprey, right? So
but
he
there's a
was
lot of people who may or may not like that word,
right.
and they call that health spanning or life spanning or bio cherishing. I mean, everybody's coming up with their own spin of the word, but that word means doing extra 2 to 3 or 4 things, adding that into your morning routine or evening routine to bring nature and what we used to get from the nature into your life, because we're caged animals in these days society, right? We're not really getting out. So we heard grounding was definitely number one. Light, grounding, breathing techniques, sleep, some of the most basic things that people just take advantage of, but those need to be the cornerstones of your daily life. You
Right.
cannot, you cannot not sleep optimally. You cannot not breathe and get yourself into parasympathetic state.
But then there are other things like, what are you missing hormonally, right? What
That's
Yeah,
level
happens with
yeah.
your
two.
body? So it's biohacking is like, if your car has one flat, there are spare tires that you can put on, or there are replacement tires that you can put on so that you can continue to have a smooth ride. What's happening is, adults are now riding on 3 wheels instead of four. And, they're not understanding, sure, you can continue to the most healthy thing for you to do, because now you're adding more problems if you don't have oil in the car.
That's a great analogy. So aside from YouTube and Instagram, where are you guys going to be streaming these for people to find it?
Well, it's streaming on Amazon, and it's
Okay.
streaming
Apple
on Apple
TV,
TV,
Roku,
Roku, all the
and
major streaming,
Tubi
and
somewhere.
Tubi. So it'll be on the major streaming platforms. It's not on YouTube. What is going to be is a website that's going to have everyone's handles, the YouTube channels. It's going to be a library, of information of everybody that's starring in the documentary, and it's going to be basically a reference website that's going to lead you to basically go direct to them.
I love this. You guys are doing really God's work. In my way of saying it, anything that brings life to another human being, that is God's work. It's beautiful. It's empowering. And to sum up all of this, what is your guys, you could have an individual saying, or what is your mantra as a couple?
Well, for the moment, in this part of our journey, our mantra is, are we biohacking ourselves? That's really our mantra, because we're living and breathing this journey. and we're looking forward to completing the filming. And at this point, we had to kind of put a finite filming date because more and more people have been wanting to be involved in the film. And so, we said we're going to put a lid on it and put a cap and really just, I think we really covered all the bases, and that was
Yeah.
our goal, is to
And
cover
by the way,
everything.
once somebody gets into all of these people, there's no way to not stumble across any other people who are related content, and your
Right,
algorithm changes. And so we would already have done that first push,
right.
and then it's going to be up to the individuals on how deep they want to dive into things. But like I said, we're just doing this big introduction to this big world of biohacking that is big but kind of secretive.
Yeah, and we're excited about what's to come as a byproduct of it. We have red carpet premiere. We're actually going to do something unique where it's going to be a grass carpet premiere where people are going to dress up nice, but they're going to be barefoot and grounding instead
I
of a
love
red carpet.
that.
So there's going to be a lot of
Some red lights
red
shining.
lights, and
Yeah.
so there's going to be a lot of cool things that are part of the experience.
And to say another motto that we live by is choose happiness, because
Choose
happiness
happiness.
is not something that just comes to you, or it's not like, let me wait until this happens then I'll be happy. It's not like that. It's a choice that you have to make every day, and then your energy opens up and things start happening. It's what's first, chicken or egg? In my opinion, it's choosing happiness is first, then everything opens up.
So I have to ask this. On the days when it feels like maybe you just aren't seeing the light, I would imagine you have those days too. Are these mantras what bring you back to each other?
A lot of times, if me, especially me, so he's very consistent, right? Because he doesn't have the 800 hormones that I do. And and so I do feel, especially after having the kids, I do notice my ups and downs during my cycle. And we actually make fun of it. He's like, okay, what is this? This is day 5. Okay, so you're gonna be emotional. Let's just be ready for it. So on the days where things are just not so happy for me, I just start writing. When my mind can't choose the happiness, when my spirit can't choose the happiness, the one thing I can do is I can force my hand to write, I'm happy. I'm
Yeah.
happy. This is temporary. Things will pass and it's going to be great. Like you just write, my goal is this. And you start focusing on what the eventual, what the overall goal is and what you do have, and you just do a bunch of gratitude stuff. And it may not work right away, for some people. I've had some friends who I gave the same advice, and they're like, "Yeah, I wrote a whole book already about what I'm grateful for, and I still don't feel happy." I'm like, "Write the second one." Again, it's like fake it till you make it, and I really think our cells are listening to us. And when I tell this to the kids, I say it in an animated version as if it's a cartoon. I'm like, your tiny cells are listening to you. So whatever you say, they're like,
It's so
okay, boss,
true.
if I'm happy, okay, we'll be happy. We'll act, yay, yay. I say these things to them, and it's true. And I started visualizing it as a cartoon in my head, in a kid's way. And I feel like it helps. But if you're writing the gratitude stuff and you're like, yeah, this is crap, this is never going to work, this is, whatever, then you're putting that energy in there.
I think that's so important. I'm excited for being able to watch all of these series. And thank you for joining me again on here. I just
Thanks
appreciate
for
you
having
guys. I
us.
love the work you're doing. And anybody who gets to meet you in person, it's a treat because your energy is just exuberant. Like, it just makes me happy just to be on this podcast with you. So thank you so much for bringing that.
Of course. Thanks for having us.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you like what you heard, please share it and help us keep the conversation going. We can't grow without you. So, thank you in advance for your support of Power of Perseverance.